everybody. It is me, Dani, and I am coming to you live with something that I've been thinking about a lot over the last couple of days. And to be honest, I almost didn't do it tonight because I had all that self-doubt and all the reasons brewing about why I shouldn't and why it's not the right time and how I'm not prepared enough and all of these things. And I finally am just getting to a point in my life where I'm done listening to my comfort zone, that inner voice that tries to keep me safe, because I don't want to be safe anymore. I want to rule the world. Not literally, I don't want to rule the world, but I do want to rule my world. And so I am being very conscious about making decisions that are right for me in the moment and not worrying about what everybody else thinks, cares, does. Because at the end of the day, the people that are meant to hear this are going to hear it. So if you're watching right now, it means one of two things. You're either watching on the replay or you have it set to tell you when I'm live, which I love you both, no matter which one you fall into. And while I wait for some other people to join us live, don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I just want you to comment below. I want to give you something to think about here because it goes along with what I want to talk about today, which is the power of a dream, the power of a vision. So in light of that, I want you to think of one person, either dead or alive, that you would love to meet and understand the magic or the effort that went behind the vision and being able to bring their vision to life. You know, a lot of times when we see people that are living their vision, living their dream, and are so crystal clear and articulate and have the audience, we're captivated by that, and it appears so easy. And one thing I've really learned as I've researched some of these people is that you can't ever compare your beginning with somebody else's middle or end of their story. Like, it took a lot to get them to where they are, that we're watching them, and that message, that vision, that dream is coming to life for us. And so who's somebody that you think of as being very visionary that you would love to meet and understand how they got to that point? So put that in the comments. For those of you that just joined, hi, my name is Dani. I am the business owner of what we are now branding the Drinking Buddies. And you guys have seen me as Drinking with Dani before. This is Driving with Dani. Why is that? I'm not driving. It's because if you're anything like me, you like to listen to inspirational, motivational, funny things on your way home from work. And you never have to watch any of this. You can, I'm here, but I'm not using any visuals or anything like that. So you can put it on while you drive, put your phone away, don't look at the screen, obviously. But I'm also uploading them to YouTube at my YouTube channel. So if you want to listen to anything, they're there for you. And I would love to be in your ear during your commute, whether it's from or to work. So anyways, that's what Driving with Dani is all about. And tonight, I wanted to talk to you guys about it was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday yesterday. And I think everybody at that point takes an opportunity, maybe not everybody, but my guess, if you're listening to me and you're into this type of thing, you probably took a minute to really reflect on who he was and what he did for us as a nation, for what he did for the world, and just his impact, his legacy that he left. I've been really going to sound strange. I promise I'm going to connect these together, but I've been listening to every morning when I wake up the song Glorious by Macklemore. So I know, but one of the lines in the song, and I might butcher it, I apologize for the diehard fans, but I got the gist, is they say you die twice, once when they bury you in the grave, and the second time is the last time anybody mentions your name. You see what I did there? But I wonder how long Martin Luther King, when will he die that second time? Like, when will his name go forgotten or unmentioned? Like, I don't see that ever, honestly. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't see it. And so I started doing some research and just kind of digging in. I always get inspired by people like that just see the world not as it is, but as it could be, and then can so clearly articulate that vision in a way that makes people want to not follow them, but follow the vision, right? Follow the ideal, put together the plan, execute what it takes to do what's needed to make that vision come to life. Because not everybody at the end of the day has the ability to think that crystal clear about a future and about a possibility that's not in the current state. But many of us want to connect to something bigger. And when you have that public figure who can do that for you, I mean, history will show you that the world changes, right? For good or bad, we've seen it in both cases. Those types of visionaries change the world. And so I started doing some research on Martin Luther King and the I Have a Dream speech, and just listening to a few things. And one of my favorite speakers who does a lot of studies on human behavior is Simon Sinek. I've talked about him a lot. I read all of his books. I listened to his TED Talks. I am a huge, huge, huge Simon Sinek fan. And one of his more popular TED Talks has to do with how leaders inspire action in people. And I went back and I listened to that, admittedly, like 3 times today, because I thought, if there was one way that you could describe Martin Luther King, there's a lot of ways you could describe him, right? He was a visionary. He was he was a civil rights activist. He was so many things. But at the end of the day, he was a leader, not by title or because somebody said, hey, you should do this or whatever, but because he led people. By the purest definition, he was a leader who inspired people to great action in times where it was very, very difficult to do. And on the day that he gave that speech, and again, I want to make sure I give credit to Simon Sinek because I'm going to retell a little bit of what he shared. I'm going to put my own spin on it. The day Martin Luther King gave that speech, so now I live in Annapolis. I have been to DC quite a few times, and so this is very, very vivid, the visual for me. I hope even for those of you that haven't gotten to go to the Lincoln Memorial, you can at least picture what that is, that it's that almost endless lawn, the huge monument that sits somebody that just really, again, changed the history of the United States. The stairs, there's a lot of stairs, like you get out of breath walking those stairs. The reflection pool, right, overlooking the Capitol. If you could imagine that, to walk from the Capitol to the Lincoln Memorial, that takes some time. Like, that is not a quick little jog, at least not for me. I'm not a speed racer. I'm typically casually walking it in between, but it's a vast space and it's got huge historic significance. And when he gave his speech, he was on those stairs, and it was August 28th, 1963. Okay. So think about today. I'm going to use this for example. I'm not going to say I have a vision or a dream. I do, but in light of Martin Luther King's, I'm just going to say I had something I wanted to share with you. And so I clicked live on Facebook to see who wanted to pay attention to me. You guys either have me set up to alert you, or maybe you were scrolling, or however it got you here, you got here. If I really wanted to be great about it, I could have posted about it like an hour ago. I could have posted about it yesterday and said, hey, I'm going live at about 6:30-ish Eastern time. Join me on Facebook. I could have sent out a text. I could have sent you out an email. I could have called you. I could have done so many different things to create the audience that we now take for granted. Martin Luther King didn't have Facebook to jump on. He couldn't communicate to people and be like, hey, if you stand behind this dream I have, join me at the Lincoln Memorial, August 1963. Guys, that's not how this went down. And I never really thought about it before until today when I was listening to Simon Sinek talk about it. What had to have happened to get all those people there at a time when there was no internet, so there was no email. Sure, they had TVs, but I promise you Martin Luther King's face wasn't there on TV telling everybody to come join him at the Lincoln Memorial. Maybe mail, maybe phone, what had to have happened is in a small circle that we'll probably never really get to know the truth about until we get to meet him one day, if fate allows. He must have shared that dream. He must have shared that vision. He probably shared it with everybody he came across. And he articulated it as clearly as he could. A vision for a world that had never been lived in, and there was no telling if it ever would be lived in. A vision for a world that not everybody was a fan of. In fact, some people blatantly disagreed and thought that was not the way the world should work. And others probably thought, wouldn't that be nice? But what am I going to do about it? Right? So imagine how many people he had to share that with to get a couple of people that said, hey, I think you're onto something. And then those people must have gone back to their houses, their families, their jobs, their day-to-day, their neighbors, and said, hey, this guy, he's got this vision that I really believe in. And then those people must have thought, wow, this is great. And that must have expanded until one day when he decides that, you know what, on August 28th, I'm going to go to the Lincoln Memorial and I am going to proclaim the world for the way that I see it could be. Because that's how much this matters to me. Spread the word. And that invitation had to have spread through layers and ripples and, that word of mouth, that network. It had to have just rippled across. And people probably by the time they got it out here were like, gosh, this sounds good, but who and what? And you want me to go where? And it's not like I'm going to drive my car. Like, what is this? People came from all over the place. All over the place. People of all different races, people of all different backgrounds, people that heard about a vision and wanted to know about it for themselves. And on that day, on a hot, humid August day in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Memorial, 250,000 people gathered to hear him deliver that speech. Through the ripple effect and a crystal clear vision that was so much bigger than Martin Luther King, so much bigger than the people in that circle. It was a vision for the way the world could be better. And it was not going to ever come into fruition without people who believed in it and were willing to do the heavy lifting. And in fact, one of the things Simon Sinek said, and I loved this, was he said Martin Luther King didn't stand up there and do his I have a plan speech. There wasn't a plan. He didn't know exactly how we were going to get. It wasn't like, okay, guys, now let me put up my PowerPoint presentation. Here's my 18 bullet points. Here's your deliverables. Like, let's just get to business here. Who wants to lead up the commit? It was a dream. I have a dream. And it was so crystal clear and delivered to exactly the people who needed to hear it at exactly the right time in our country's history that changed our world forever. I don't know about you guys, but that's intense to me. That is intense when I think about what must have happened to get him to that point. We just think about it and we can imagine the Lincoln Memorial and we can see the reflection pool and we can see the 250,000 people there. And we can see Martin Luther King and all of his grace and all of his wisdom and all of his faith deliver that speech. We can close our eyes and we can see it. But have you ever thought about what it took to get him there? One of the things that I just loved, and I had to go live today and share it because, like I said before, we're coming off the holiday. I was doing some research. He is somebody that I think we all look up to, but I admire that so much, that vision for a better world and that ability to bring people along with you who see it, who can also see it. And so that is somebody that I look up to as a mentor and somebody that I look to as to guide me as far as, I don't need to change the world to that scale. Maybe I'm not saying it doesn't need to be changed. I'm saying I don't know that I'm the person to do it. But what I do know is that recently this year, I feel like I've also embarked on my own vision and on my own dream for making my world a better place, making my world different than how I've been living it in my adult life for the last, 18 years. And one of the things I see crystal clear that I know it's not where my point A is, but I know that my point B is a place of absolute abundance, a place where I make the money that I need to live the lifestyle that I want, and I have the time and I have the freedom to do it. And for the first time ever, I feel like every day I am taking steps to get to that point B. Because at the end of the day, the true people that can see the vision, that can catch the light, are the ones that acknowledge that here we are. And they see that this is where we could be. And they figure out how to close the gap. And for me, what I knew is as much as I loved what I did before and as good as I was at it and as well as it paid, it was never going to get me here. My ladder was leaning up the wrong dream. The corporate ladder I thought I had to climb was leaning up the wrong dream. So maybe now the ladder looks a lot different, and maybe it's not even, I'm not even sure what it is, but I do know that it's leaning up against my own. That's what I know. And that's the dream that I have for myself. And I'm so grateful for people like Martin Luther King who believed in their dream and showed us that everybody starts somewhere. It's up to you to end up where you're going to end up. So that is what I wanted to share with you tonight. If maybe you're driving home from work or you're listening tomorrow morning, I hope you've been driving with Dani or watching me live. Either way, I appreciate your support. And I'm going to end this a little differently than I've done some of my other ones. But I want to call out to the dream chasers out there, the people that think to themselves that they have a bigger purpose or a bigger calling, or they can close their eyes and they can imagine where their life should be, will be, can be in 10 years. But they just don't know how to get from their point A to that point B. If that's you, if that resonates with you, and you're ready to run, you're ready to find out another solution, that's who I'm looking for. I've decided that I'm a professional solution finder. And so I am calling out to all the dream chasers who understand that their current circumstances do not determine their future lives. And I'm changing my world one drink at a time. I'd love to teach you how to do the same. So if that's something that's interested to you, send me a message, shoot me a text, give me a call, do whatever you need to do. But I'm opening up for you because I know that we can make the world that we live in a better place. And I'm looking for some dream chasers to do that with. Have a great night, and hopefully I'll be talking to you soon. Cheers.